Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach. Um, Outside video, I like these because there's a limit to them. Eventually, the mosquitoes find me. The heat gets to be too much, although it's not really hot out today. Grass is coming in nicely. Well, let's say the green is coming in nicely. It's almost no bald spots in the whole yard. Very, very exciting. So last night I saw a TikTok, and like the first thing this guy says is, I'm probably going to delete this later. But it's been up for 2 days. But I don't want to put him on blast, so I'll just talk in generalities. It's an American comic book artist. I thought he was older than me. Looked it up. He's my age exactly, 52. And he was talking about he said, I'm doing some depressing math. And he said, basically, it looked like an American countdown to poverty. And then he just basically gave, a seemingly honest assessment of his financial state. That he had a house, sounded like he was still paying it off, but it sounded like he was kind of like on the way to having it paid off. He's got some original art and then some savings. And then he's talking about the depressing thing to him was that he was going to get older, there were going to be medical costs, and then it was just going to eat away at what he had, which he doesn't feel is enough until it disappeared. And the whole time I'm just waiting for, and your 401k, and your stock portfolio, and your SEP IRA, and he never mentioned it. So much so that I watched the thing like 3 times to make sure I wasn't missing it. And he seemingly lives in an alternate dimension where the stock market doesn't exist. Now, although this is kind of shocking, it's also kind of not shocking, because I talk to very wealthy people who know nothing about stocks. And I have to explain, I'm like, how did you get wealthy? And they just had a bunch of cash. They just had a bunch of cash flow for decades, and they had a business, or they sold a business, but they never invested. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Do you know about the magic of compound interest? So like I said, I don't want to put the guy on blast. But just because you work freelance, apparently your whole life or most of your life, doesn't mean you can't have several different retirement accounts. You can have a SEP IRA, you can have a Roth IRA, you can have what is it called? Solo 401k. And then you can just have a regular investment portfolio that, does get taxed disadvantageously, but it can still grow much more than the tax burden. So it's a net positive. But I think the hardest leap is for people to just do something that sounds scary and they've only heard negative things. When I started to make some money, a friend was trying to teach me the stock market, and he was very well intentioned, but he was also terrible at explaining it, to the point where like he explained it to me on and off for a year, and then it was like the end of December. I had a bunch of cash. It was going to get taxed into oblivion, so I had to do something with it. So I literally just sat down and watched a bunch of YouTube videos. Like, this is all I'm doing today. I'm just watching YouTube videos about investing. And it's actually very simple. Like I said, there's a tax advantage, means they get maybe taxed when you put it in, but not when you take it out, or not when you put it in, but you take it out. And overall, it's better. It gets taxed less than it would be if it was income. And so you don't have to work for a corporation to do that. You can set this up. It's real simple. There's several different websites you can go to, and I mean, you can have it set up within 15 minutes, and if you get confused, you can just Google it or chat GPT it. So what you do is you take your money and you put it in there. And then this is the other thing. I hate when people do this. They're like, I don't want to tell you to invest in, because then if you lose money, you're going to be mad at me. Fuck. Just put it in a broad market index fund. Write that down. Broad market index fund, or S&P 500. It's going to grow on average about 9% per year. So when this artist was talking about, like, it sounds like he almost had a home paid off, and he lived in an expensive part of the country, which that's why you're doing that. But I looked it up. I was like, man, even with taxes and commissions and all that shit, he can probably clear about 250, 250,000, 300,000 from a sale of a house in that part of the country. If you put that and you just say, I'm going to rent from now on, that can double in about 10 years. Now, again, he's my age. That's 10 years away from being able to get Social Security. So you tell yourself, look, I'm just going to gut it out. Maybe I'm going to have to drive for Uber sometimes. I'm going to gut it out. I'm going to rent. I'm going to sell the house. It's going to double. And then you do something called buy, borrow, die. And there is no romance in that. It is literally so you buy a bunch of stocks. And then when your portfolio gets large enough, you get to take out margin loans or buy on margin. Now, margin is a whole other thing, and you can really fuck yourself up if you use too much of your margin. But basically, it says, okay, you sold your house, and then that portfolio grew to 600, 700,000. You can then borrow based against what you have. And sometimes you can borrow like a lot, like 65, 75% of it. And you get a better deal if you decide to use it for investments than for just cash, but you can get cash as well. So what people do is they then borrow against their margin loan and live off that, maybe pay it back, and then you just die. And that's what rich people do. And the other thing about rich people is all the rich people rules and advantages, they exist for regular people. Regular people just don't take advantage of it. So what you do is, and there's all these articles now about people in their 20s and 30s, they're starting their careers, they're making good money, and they're like, I'm not buying a house. It's a freaking total waste. All the upkeep, all the property values. So this guy is well, not lucky. He earned it. He paid for it, but he's got an asset, and he's using like 1950s, like it just makes me think like he's got a bunch of cash like under the mattress. Like, how do you talk about your, and again, like I said, I've talked to very, very wealthy people, and I'm like older than me, and I'm having to explain this whole spiel I just did now. It's like, you can take, you have several properties, sell one, put it all into, I didn't explain what a broad market index fund is. So basically what they do is they take like all the successful companies or the top 500, and they just buy little bits of all of them. So it's not having just one stock. It's, S&P 500 is the top 500 companies on the S&P. So just if you want to, like, how do I say this? It's spread out about a bunch of different things, about a bunch of different industries, and that makes it a lot safer. Now, you're not going to have that things you hear about like, oh, I bought this Silicon Valley stock and it, increased by 10% or 10 times. That's not going to happen. But you know what? Doubling your money in 10 years is pretty fucking awesome. And that's an average. Like, I've done much better than that. And my other thing is I just talk to friends. I just read the Wall Street Journal. It's not that difficult. Just because you're an artist doesn't mean you have to be broke. You should not be talking about savings. Like, a savings account, for fuck's sake. Like, I had one friend. One of the weirdest things is to ask a friend, like, can I see your portfolio? Because people get really, like, ugh. Because sometimes you have a job where it will set you up for one, and then they don't really explain it to you. I had a friend who their employer was putting a lot of money, like $20,000, like twice a year, into their retirement fund, but then they weren't allocating it. It was just in the money market section of their retirement account, so it wasn't growing at all. It was basically a piggy bank, and it was horrifying. So I was like, no, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy total market fund, buy S&P 500. Those are the safest ones, and then just buy regular stuff. And this is one of those things where people get all like, ooh, buy NVIDIA. Okay, just buy NVIDIA, right? Buy it. If you hear about a lot of people using something, then the other thing is you just Google the stock, and then it will tell you like for the month, for the year to date, a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. That's usually, and sometimes you can get them where it shows like the entire history of the stock. I usually, when I'm trying to evaluate a stock, I look at it for year to date, then I look at it for 1 year, then I look at it for 5 years, and I'm like, all right. And they always say like buy the dip. It's like you can't really. Sometimes the dip isn't a dip. I mean, I bought the dip on Netflix and it was cool. And then I watched Splinter Cell and I was like, God damn it. The other thing is called dollar cost averaging. And that's just, if you get paid every 2 weeks, you buy some stocks every 2 weeks. It's going to be up, it's going to be down, but over the course of time, it's going to be better. So just get in your head that just put as much. And then the one thing I always get, even from very wealthy people, it always sounds kind of childish to me. They're like, well, what if the entire stock market collapses? It's like, well, then it's Mad Max and you just get like Jeeps and shotguns, like it has collapsed before and there have been recessions, but the value of your stock goes down, but you don't lose the stocks unless you over-invested in margin. And they have calculators that will tell you like leave this much of a buffer in margin. But you understand what I'm saying, right? Like everyone's like, oh my gosh, my stock portfolio is worth half of what it was years ago. It crashed. You have the same amount of shares. It's going to recover. That's why you don't look at one of those shithead right-wing YouTubers. They love to pick like a 24-hour period and be like, woke Netflix falls, whatever, 15%. Okay, what does it do the next day? It recovers 10% of that. That's how it happens. So anyway, this is doesn't just go for. Oh, here's another thing. If you have an employer, holy shit. Sometimes they're going to do this thing where they're like, which one do you want? A, B, or C? And it's like, oh, A. And they'll just give like these little soft, don't do that shit. It's always the worst shit ever. I actually forgot. So I started investing twice. A company invested for me and they just shoved me a form like, pick A, B, or C. I was like, oh, whatever, B. Man, that shit grew like 11% in 10 years. Like, don't get into those traps where they just give you like these shitty like 3 options. No, again, broad market index fund, total market index fund, S&P 500. Then once you get your sea legs and you don't freak out and sell the first time things dip, then you can be a little crazy and you can buy like Nvidia, Meta, stuff like that. Just basic stuff, just it's easy to Google like what are the top 5 individual stocks to get for long-term retirement planning, whatever. Anyway, do it. Bacardi and Coke, do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.